about illegal immigration? You certainly have made that a high priority, your executive order. Why did you make it a priority as the way you did? In our neighboring states, you don't see this quite the issue, especially Massachusetts, I think, is a much more relaxed attitude, I think it would be safe to say. Why do you have any regrets?
Under Governor Patrick, Governor
yes.
Romney has
yes, under Governor Patrick over the last 4 years.
Well, I think every governor is having to deal with this issue in the sense of because the federal government is doing nothing. All right, I mean, immigration laws are supposed to be administered by, the federal government, and yet they've really done nothing. No kind of comprehensive immigration reform. Remember, I said that at the time, and they're continuing to do nothing, and hence you're seeing the end result of all of that inaction by the federal government is borne by the states. So that every state is sitting here saying, knowing we've got people that are here illegally, they're not supposed to be here, but under federal law we have to educate the children. If they show up at a hospital needing medical care, they will be cared for. If they've committed crimes, we will incarcerate them here, which we have. And so in every state in the country, it's a huge cost at the end of the day. It is. In our state, it's hard to get your arms around exactly because we don't keep data on how many kids are in school and how many people show up at the emergency room that are illegal. Well, in theory, you don't. They're not account. It's tough to make an account. Yeah, exactly. But it's in my judgment, it's easily $300–400 million in our little state. So what was clear to me in Massachusetts under Governor Romney had in a 287G is that we could do a couple of simple things that would at least begin to put some parameters around things like who was the state hiring, all right, state employees, make sure we're only hiring people that are here legally and eligible to work, that people that are doing business with the state, that they be employing and use E-Verify so that they're employing people that are eligible to work and are here legally. So that was one piece of it, which was pretty straightforward because I think if you stopped 10 people on the street and said, do you want your tax money being used to employ people at the state illegally or contractors, because you got businesses trying to compete, and if they're hiring, if I'm competing with you and you've got a whole group of people illegally here, I'm sure what's happened, we've seen it time and time again, it's being taken advantage of. And so they're being paid less, and if I'm trying to compete for the same business with the state, with you, we're not competing on a level playing field. So that was one whole piece of it, Bill. The other piece is it was clear to me that we were not being very efficient in terms of the law enforcement. When I sat with the state police and even the Police Chiefs Association, sat with A.T. Wall at corrections, I said, how many people do we have at the ACI who are here illegally? They didn't have an answer. And I said, what do you mean? Well, it's not that simple. We don't know exactly. I said, well, why don't we know? You mean to tell me when somebody's arrested and goes before a judge, we don't know whether that person is, a citizen of the United States or they're here illegally or not? The systems that were in place were terrible, Bill. So it was clear to me that in terms of law enforcement, if we come across in the normal course of law enforcement activity somebody who's here illegally, then we needed to figure out how to tighten the relationship with ICE and immigration because, for instance, in Providence's case, they were just faxing a couple days later a list to ICE. Well, ICE has a computer system in place. You can bing, 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 and tell instantly whether somebody that's been arrested is of interest to ICE. And so these are what I thought were common sense things that would at least begin to, from our standpoint as a state, get our arms around this issue, knowing that the federal government's going to have to, at the end of the day, deal with this. I'm a pro-immigrant person, all right? I am, because I believe that immigration is what's built this nation, what's going to continue to build this nation, because it's the new blood coming in that is, they're coming here for a better life. And so they're motivated, and whether they be my grandparents that came from Italy and Sweden, they came here to make a better life for themselves. So I'm a pro-immigration person, but you need to have control over the process. And this is the sad thing to me at the federal level, because it's completely out of control. There's no control right now on what's going on and who's coming in, and I think that's a shame.
Couple of legacy questions. Maybe I'll start, since this has been and will continue to be very much in the news over the next couple of weeks. Your successor has, I think, stated that that'll be among his first jobs is to overturn that executive order. But let's take it a little bit further. It seems like some of us look at the election of Governor-elect, soon-to-be Governor Chafee, as almost the anti-Carcieri, that we're going to overturn the executive order, that will support same-sex marriage, that we're going to expand. Well, I mean, you know, do you feel that the voters have repudiated you, even though you weren't on the ballot, repudiated you through the election of Link Chafee?
No, I'd put it the other way. I think the voters have vindicated me, because 64% voted for somebody else. This is the weird thing, all right? And I don't envy the new governor coming in. I mean, to have been elected with 36% of the vote is not a good thing, in my judgment. I think it's a very bad thing, truthfully, because that's not happened anywhere else in the country. I don't think there's another governor who's been elected. I think there were maybe one or two that were like 49%, slightly under 50, because it was the third. I think that happened in Massachusetts. I think Governor Patrick in his re-election just came in slightly under 50, Bill. But that's not a good thing, because on issues like this, whatever the issue is, you've got 2/3 of the people that didn't vote for you. So I don't know how you could feel with any confidence that what you're doing has got broad public support. Now, sometimes there are things you do that, you know, you just, you're not sure what kind of support you're going to get. But on a lot of these issues, the tax issue, I mean, the last thing we need to be talking about right now as a state is raising any taxes, because that's why we are continuing to lag the rest of New England, because we have the highest tax burden of all the New England states. And people point to New Hampshire and say, New Hampshire's doing a great job. You know why? Because on total tax burden, that's state and local, so income tax, sales tax, and property tax, New Hampshire has the lowest burden in the nation. So is anybody surprised that businesses are moving to New Hampshire but not to Rhode Island? So, and if you stopped 10 people and said, you know, how do you feel about raising the sales tax in this case, or adding a sales tax? No. So, you know, the new governor is going to have his hands full, in my judgment, because a lot of these things are really contrary to what most people actually would be supportive of. And as I said, 2/3 of the people didn't vote for the governor. And, you know, I think we really, the legislature, and it's be constitutional change, but need to look at, you know, some kind of runoff or some kind of mechanism, which a lot of states have, so that you're, at least when you come down to who the sitting governor is, that person can feel as though they got at least 50% of the vote and feel like, okay, I got decent support out there.
Hear it, and see it when you want it. On demand, audio and video at 630WPRO.com.